In my last post, I talked a bit about the idea that people don't need to be fixed and they are just seeking to be understood. This presupposition also ties in with the idea that whatever patterns of behavior we come up with in our heads or learn or are programmed with, it is really us who can then set about unlearning and swapping out these behaviors, ideas, or programs for new ones. If we are being completely honest, we can acknowledge openly that we all get stuck in patterns of thinking, many of which are very unhelpful. And we have all heard that we are just operating out of the best level of awareness that we are capable of generating at the time with the information we have. People get stuck very easily in their own concepts and at their level of awareness. For example, if you were having a conversation with someone and they said something or did something and you completely freaked out on them, you reacted inappropriately. You may then go on to feel embarrassed by your behavior. And it's because you realized that you misinterpreted or assumed something and you acted in an unhelpful manner. Now, the reaction that you had was really just you giving a voice to the information which you misinterpreted or assumed. Every time you react, it shows your beliefs or some thinking pattern. And this is an area of life that we all could use more practice. Where we tend to make the most mistakes is in the processing of information and experiences. So, this is the idea. People don't need to be fixed, they need to be given better information, better guidance, and tools they can use to observe their own thinking patterns and behavior so that they can go about making small changes to these patterns and over time change them for beliefs and behaviors which serve them better. So, here's a personal example. In my teens and into my mid 20s, I was quite a handful. Let's leave it at that. I was always going around getting into conflict with others, and in fact, I have no problem saying that as a result of that, I grew into quite an insecure man. Over time, I began to notice certain things and I accepted responsibility for my behaviors eventually as I began to notice how I was processing information through a set of beliefs that were not true. I picked these behaviors and beliefs up from friends, from parents, from television, and other people just in day to day interactions. So I basically misinterpreted a lot of events, conversations, and data. And because I had so many difficulties with other people and parents, etc., in the past, I was simply expecting more conflict in the future as a result of my past experiences, my past interpretations. And I used my belief systems to color every single experience that I went on to have during that time. I was the kind of person where you couldn't convince me that I was wrong. It was always the other person that was wrong. However, I was wrong. It was all in the way in which I was interpreting information and the events. This is something that we can all be guilty of at times. Sometimes in life, we act out of our ego, which is a protection mechanism. We will reject others, attack others, blame others, and try to keep ourselves from being hurt. We do this because it is easier to do so than to equip yourself with the emotional intelligence and openness required to challenge your own belief systems, which then allows us to appropriately process and respond to some hurt or challenge once it has occurred. Unfortunately, there are so many people out there operating out of defensiveness and hurtful patterns of thinking. So they reject, blame, abuse, and hurt others because they think that this will keep them from being rejected or hurt in some way. Hurt people hurt people. So this next statement should be obvious. If you listen, you will get all of the information, right? How often are we just listening to what is going on inside of our own heads rather than taking in fully and looking to understand what the other person is saying? When you're dealing with hurt people, they are not looking to you for advice without first being listened to. they have no basis for trust. Until you can demonstrate to a person that you are fully in tune with them and are seeking to understand what they are saying without trying to fix them, then they are not going to know whether or not they can trust you. Again, they are not broken, and it is a lack of compassion to assume that another person needs to be fixed. It is common for a person to go on the offense, defense, or for a person to withhold the necessary information for their growth if they sense that you are just on a mission to fix them. In fact, I have had several clients say this to me, a few which attended years of therapy with other helpers, be it psychologists, psychiatrists, or counselors. So always listen and seek to understand a person because that is how you gain insight, trust, and deep understanding. We have to keep our minds open to the idea that all mental health is really emotional health. Just try it. Open yourself up to the concept that perhaps all thinking patterns, bad habits, or behaviors, they're not illnesses, diseases, or conditions. They're not fixed. There's places that you can move forward from. Again, this is why labeling is dangerous. As soon as you label someone, you place them inside of a cell under lock and key. When it comes to the mind, we can change any thoughts at any time. What is required is alternative ways of thinking and a willingness to apply. So while the things that may occur in life are totally outside of our control, we can learn how to appropriately control and respond to the circumstances rather than react. So if you are disagreeing with these ideas that I'm talking about, I am not saying that I am right or you are wrong. What I am going to ask you is why. Do you really know what it is that you might believe? Do you have evidence for it? Is the evidence colored by your own emotional reactions in the past? Really think. What is it that you might believe that you think is currently serving you in a way that is better than the ideas I am presenting you with? What is the reward that you seek for these beliefs? Now, you cannot be empowered in an area of your life or by a pattern until you have taken responsibility for it. You have to take 100% responsibility for all the things that you think and do. That is the only way that you can turn things in a different direction. This leads me to my next idea that every single one of us is completely responsible for our thoughts, emotions, actions, and behaviors. This is an idea which can truly be liberating because we realize how little we really need to rely on other people. We can understand better how to manage our expectations of ourselves, situations, and other people. By practicing this idea, we can truly see and understand that we are all really just doing the best that we can from the level of awareness that we are at. I will talk more about this concept in the next video. Thanks for watching.